Steampunk City and the Dead Sea. Chapter 1: The Unseen Catastrophe.
I was sitting in my workshop, surrounded by the comforting hum of machinery and the rhythmic tick of my many clockwork contraptions. It was a melody that had always brought me solace, a reassuring reminder of the order I strived to create in this bustling city. But that day, as I meticulously tinkered with a delicate set of gears, my calm was about to be shattered by a discovery that would send shockwaves through Steampunk City and alter the course of our future. As I tightened a brass bolt with precision, the city's alarms began to wail in a dissonant chorus. Startled, I rushed to the window and peered out. What I witnessed sent a chill down my spine. A thick, black plume of smoke billowed on the horizon, a sinister omen of the calamity that had befallen us. Panic swept through the streets as the news spread like wildfire. "The sea is dying," someone whispered, and their words carried the weight of our worst fears. Our bustling metropolis, with all its marvels and inventions, had unwittingly unleashed a menace that was now devouring the lifeblood of our world, the oceans. In that moment, as the city's great gears ground to a halt and the ceaseless steam hissed into silence, I realized the magnitude of our hubris. Our relentless pursuit of progress had brought us to the precipice of destruction. The largest sea creatures, those magnificent behemoths that once roamed our oceans, were now gasping their last breaths, victims of an unseen and insidious poison. The world we had known was unraveling, and we, the architects of our own demise, were left to grapple with the consequences. My workshop, once a sanctuary of invention, had become a crucible of realization. The fate of our oceans, and perhaps the fate of Steampunk City itself, now rested upon our shoulders. It was a burden that I and many others would soon come to bear. Dear friend, this is where our story begins. The tale of how we, the dreamers of Steampunk City, confronted the looming catastrophe, ventured into the unknown, and uncovered the incredible potential of human determination and innovation.
Chapter 2: The Aftermath.
In the days that followed the blaring sirens and the grim realization that our oceans were dying, I delved into the heart of the catastrophe that had befallen us. The thick plume of black smoke on the horizon had been a harbinger of doom, a sign that something catastrophic had occurred at the cell fuel mining sites along the coast. Cell fuel, the lifeblood of Steampunk City, was a concoction of my own invention. It pulsed through the intricate clockwork machinery of our great metropolis, providing lubrication and power to the countless gears, cogs, and pistons that brought life to our inventions. Its primary ingredient was guano, mined from coastal caves, and transformed into cell fuel by the addition of electrons. This substance had served us well, or so we thought, until that fateful day. An explosion at one of the guano mines had ruptured the earth, sending shockwaves through the coastal caves. It was a disaster of epic proportions, and its consequences were dire. Somehow the explosion had released a noxious, toxic element into the sea, poisoning the very life we depended on. The largest sea creatures, majestic in their grandeur, had been the first to succumb, their massive forms washing ashore, lifeless and grotesque. The guilt weighed heavy on my heart as representatives from the city's governing bodies sought answers. They explained the magnitude of the catastrophe and begged me to come out of retirement to help make amends for the havoc wrought by my invention. It was a decision that I grappled with, knowing that the fate of our oceans and, perhaps, our beloved city rested on the choices we would make in the trying days ahead. But the weight of responsibility was not mine alone. Steampunk City, a place of visionaries and dreamers, was awakening to the dire reality that our relentless pursuit of progress had come at a tremendous cost. Our creations had disrupted the natural order, imperiling the seas that cradled our sprawling city. As I stood before those who had once marveled at my inventions, I knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges and sacrifices. It was a journey into uncharted waters, a quest to make amends for the sins of innovation. Together, we would venture into the unknown, harnessing the power of our ingenuity to repopulate the oceans with steampunk sea life. Dear friend, this is where the next chapter of our story begins, a chapter of redemption and innovation in the face of unparalleled adversity. It is a testament to the indomitable spirit of Steampunk City and the resilience of its people as we strive to mend the wounds we have inflicted upon the world.
Chapter 3. The Clockwork Menagerie.
With the ominous weight of responsibility upon our shoulders, the denizens of Steampunk City rallied together, determined to undo the damage that our unchecked progress had wrought upon the seas. It was a time of frenzied activity, with workshops coming to life in a symphony of clinking gears and steam hisses. My own workshop, once a haven of solitary invention, transformed into a bustling hub of creativity. I felt a renewed sense of purpose as I embarked on the task of crafting a new generation of clockwork sea creatures. These mechanical marvels would be our answer to the decimation of ocean life, and I was determined that they would bear the mark of innovation and compassion. Day and night, my team of engineers and I toiled tirelessly. Each creature was a masterpiece in its own right, a fusion of artistry and engineering. The great clockwork whales, their brass bodies gleaming under the workshop's dim lamplight, were designed to mimic the majesty of their biological counterparts. Gears whirred, and pistons pumped, propelling them through the water with an eerie grace. In the shadows of my workshop, away from prying eyes, I conducted clandestine experiments. I sought a way to neutralize the harmful effects of cell fuel to make it safe for both our machines and the delicate ecosystems of the sea. It was a perilous endeavor, fraught with uncertainty and risk, but I was driven by a conviction that there was more to the disaster than met the eye. But it was not enough to replace what had been lost. We knew that we needed to address the root of the problem, the toxicity of cell fuel. As I delved deeper into my research, I couldn't shake the nagging suspicion that the explosion at the guano mine had been no mere accident. As the clockwork sea creatures took shape and our understanding of cell fuel deepened, I also embarked on a covert mission. I sought a means to vaccinate the remaining sea life against the toxins that now tainted the waters. My dubious suspicions of foul play led me to believe that further catastrophes loomed on the horizon, and I was determined to protect what little remained of our once teeming oceans. Dear friend, in those trying days, innovation and subterfuge became our allies. The clockwork menagerie grew, and our quest to purify cell fuel and safeguard the seas unfolded in tandem. It was a race against time, a struggle to right the wrongs of progress and preserve the fragile balance of nature. In the heart of Steampunk City, the gears of invention turned, and the future of our world hung in the balance.
Steampunk City and the Dead Sea, Chapter 4, The Catalyst.
The pursuit of a solution to our oceanic crisis led me deeper into the realm of alchemy than I had ever ventured before. My workshop became a sanctuary of experimentation, an arcane laboratory where the boundaries of science and ingenuity blurred. It was there, amidst the flickering gas lamps and the constant hum of machinery, that I delved into the mysteries of cell fuel. For countless days and nights I laboured tirelessly, adding and subtracting protons and neutrons from the molecules that composed this volatile substance. My discoveries were incremental, hard-won insights born of equal parts brilliance and frustration. Then, one fateful night, as I tinkered with a vial of cell fuel, I stumbled upon a revelation that would change our course. By introducing an extra hydrogen molecule to the mix, I found that the compound became more stable, less prone to the catastrophic reactions that had plagued us. It was a breakthrough that offered a glimmer of hope in our darkest hour. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I ventured beyond the confines of Steampunk City. Our first destination was the island where the disastrous guano mine explosion had occurred, the epicenter of our troubles. It was on this rugged shore that the first of our clockwork sea creatures would be launched, resembling a pod of magnificent killer whales. These mechanical wonders had been meticulously designed to initiate the cleanup operation. Equipped with sensors and filters, they would detect and filter spilled cell fuel particles through gill-like vents. It was a symbolic gesture, our pledge to heal the seas and the wounds we had inflicted upon them. But as we set foot on the island's rocky terrain, I couldn't ignore the gnawing suspicion that had taken root within me. I ventured into the shadows, away from the prying eyes of my colleagues, determined to uncover the truth. My investigation led me to the remnants of the guano mine, scarred by the explosion. As I sifted through the debris, my fingers brushed against something that sent a shiver down my spine, a piece of machinery that should never have been there. It bore the insignia of a rival corporation, a damning clue that hinted at sabotage. With a heavy heart, I pocketed the evidence and rejoined my team. Our mission to save the oceans had taken on new dimensions. It was no longer solely a quest for redemption, but a battle against hidden adversaries who sought to profit from our world's suffering. Dear friend, as I stood on that island, with the clockwork sea creatures poised for their maiden voyage and the spectre of sabotage looming, I knew that the fate of Steampunk City and the oceans rested in our hands. It was a battle of innovation, conviction, and ultimately survival.
Steampunk City and the Dead Sea, Chapter 5, Unraveling Secrets.
I stood amidst the whirring machinery and steam hisses of the laboratory, a place usually bustling with fellow scientists and inventors. But today, the cacophony of innovation was drowned out by the relentless echo of my suspicions. My mind kept returning to that twisted piece of metal I found in the caves, emblazoned with the emblem of Elite Corp. It was a haunting link to the catastrophe that had poisoned the seas and plunged our city into turmoil. A company emblem so familiar and yet so sinister. The name that surfaced in my thoughts like an ominous cloud was none other than Lord Han, a man of wealth, power, and a history of underhanded dealings. My old adversary. I couldn't ignore the chilling possibility that he might be behind the sabotage that led to the cell fuel spill and the catastrophic consequences that followed. A desperate attempt to maintain his grip on Steampunk City and further his own interests. With a heavy heart, I left my fellow scientists to their work and ventured into the heart of the city, my steps echoing off the cobblestone streets. The towering gears and steam-powered contraptions bore witness to my inner turmoil, for the machinery of our world mirrored the gears of justice that I sought to set in motion. My destination lay just beyond the city's edge, the manor house, Lord Han's opulent residence. It was a place of grandeur, but beneath its polished facade, I suspected it held dark secrets. As I walked through the imposing gates and up the marble steps, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought me to this pivotal moment. The bond with Zio, the catastrophe, and now the pursuit of truth. Each step was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, driven by the desire to protect the world we cherished. The grand doors of the manor house loomed before me, and with a deep breath I prepared to confront Lord Han Masters and lay bare the suspicions that had plagued my restless mind. Steampunk City's fate, the future of our oceans, and the truth all hung in the balance.
Chapter 6. Confrontation.
As I approached the imposing gates of the manor house, a chilling realization set in. Randy Feller, one of the city's well-known gossips, and Lord Han's loyal informant, stood guard. His portly frame blocked my path, and a sly grin played on his lips.
"Ted, you best turn back,"
Randy sneered, adjusting his bowler hat.
"The master ain't got no time for your nonsense today."
I met Randy's gaze with steely determination, refusing to be deterred. "I need to speak with Lord Han. It's a matter of utmost importance." Randy's attempts at blocking my path only fueled my resolve. Without another word, I strode forward and pushed open the grand doors of the manor house. Inside, the opulence of Lord Han's abode struck me like a gale-force wind. Crystal chandeliers hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting a shimmering glow over marble floors and exquisite tapestries. It was a stark contrast to the city's steampunk aesthetic, a reminder of the power and privilege that resided within these walls. And there, seated in an ornate armchair, was Lord Han Masters himself. His salt and pepper hair was immaculately groomed, and his attire bespoke an affluence beyond measure. His sharp eyes gleamed with amusement as he regarded me.
"Ah, good old Ted. What brings you to my humble abode?"
Lord Han's voice dripped with false courtesy. I wasted no time in confronting him with my suspicions. "I've discovered evidence linking Elite Corp to the cell fuel catastrophe. You will answer for what you've done." Lord Han leaned back, his chuckle ringing through the room like a bitter symphony.
"My dear inventor, you always did have an overactive imagination. Accusing me of such a crime without evidence? Preposterous."
But I was not to be silenced. My words flowed like a relentless torrent. "Your company's emblem was found at the source of the explosion, the same emblem that adorns your every possession. Lord Hahn's smirk widened.
Circumstantial at best. You see conspiracies where there are none, Ted.
Our exchange escalated into a heated argument, accusations hurled like projectiles. Lord Hahn's denials were as implacable as his wealth and influence. In the end, with fury coursing through my veins, I could bear it no longer. I stormed out of the manor house, my heart heavy with unresolved questions and the bitter taste of injustice. But I vowed to uncover the truth, to expose the dark underbelly of Steampunk City, and to protect the future of our oceans at any cost. My dear friend, as those grand doors closed behind me, I knew that this confrontation was only the beginning of a battle that would shape the destiny of our world.
Steampunk City and the Dead Sea. Chapter 7. Invention and Obsession.
Locked away in the dimly lit back room of my workshop, the cacophony of gears, the hiss of steam, and the mechanical symphony of my inventions surrounded me. It was in this sanctuary of solitude that I found solace and clarity, and it was here that I labored tirelessly on a new mission that now consumed me. As I adjusted the lenses on my goggles and peered through the microscope, the memories of the events that had led me here danced through my mind like ghosts. The discovery of the cell fuel catastrophe, the confrontation with Lord Hahn, and my unwavering determination to find a vaccine for the ailing sea creatures were all threads of a story I was determined to weave into a brighter future. The creatures that had survived the cell fuel leak now languished, their once vibrant lives threatened by a mysterious ailment. It was a cruel twist of fate that the very substance meant to rejuvenate them had instead become their poison. Hours turned into days as I meticulously studied samples of their blood, searching for a solution within the very cells that held the key to their survival. The workshop's walls seemed to close in on me, the only witnesses to my tireless endeavors. But the weight of my undertaking was not lost on me. The fate of our oceans, the restoration of life to their once teeming depths, depended on this research. It was a responsibility that weighed heavily on my shoulders, a burden I carried willingly. Yet, as I toiled, my thoughts invariably drifted to Zeo, the fox whose life had been forever altered by my inventions. Her plight mirrored that of the sea creatures, and I vowed to find a way to heal them as a way to somehow make amends for my failure to save her. After all, it was a debt I owed to that once loyal companion who had started me on the journey into my cell fuel discoveries. With each passing day I grew more obsessed, more consumed by the tantalizing promise of discovery. The vaccine remained elusive, a puzzle I was determined to solve. But in the quiet moments between experiments, doubt crept in like a creeping fog. Had I become as relentless as the gears that surrounded me, or was my determination simply an echo of the past? I questioned the sacrifices made along the way, the rifts in relationships, and the toll my obsession had taken on my own well-being. My dear friend, as the hours stretched into the depths of the night, I continued my work, my resolve unyielding. In the depths of my workshop, amid the shadows and whispers of machinery, I was determined to unearth the remedy that would breathe life back into our dying seas.